What's up to all our sidekicks and henchmen out there in the Geek Nation? My name is Noel, and today we're going to do some Thunder Rounds, and I'm going to add a little bit of a bonus opinion on something else that I just finished at the end of all this. But we'll stick to the Thunder Rounds first, because if you did click here at all 4 or 5 of you, then that's what you came for. So we'll do that first. And, share your thoughts and ideas in the comments down below, and then, we'll adjust for the next one. But in the meantime, be sure to like, subscribe, hit the bell, do all those functional things so you know when we upload new videos, as well as when we go live, which will be tomorrow morning, Sunday, at 10:30 a.m. The guys and I will talk about the books that came out this week, as well as some pop culture news and entertainment stuff. Last week we had a way too long conversation about sexism in comics, as well as the weekly books and the comings and goings of Dynamite Entertainment, which is interesting if you're reading up on it or just ignore it altogether. It was a lively conversation. It was really fun to have with some fellows. So we might as well just get right into the Thunder Rounds. I was going to do 3 today, and I was trying to focus on books that I know that we're probably not going to talk about tomorrow morning, because we all have different reading habits. But I was going to talk about King of Nowhere #4. That's written by W. Maxwell Prince, with art by Tyler and Hilary Jenkins. Empyre, X-Men #2, written by Gerry, Duggan, Ben Percy, and Leah Williams, with art by Lucas Werneck. And Undiscovered Country #7, which is written by Scott Snyder and Charles Soule, with art by Giuseppe Camuncoli. So yeah, we'll do these. I feel like these are 3 series that, at least 2 of the 3 of these I think that people are kind of sleeping on, because either it's tied to a large event or it's completely unheard of. So, let's start with unheard of. So let's put 1 minute on the clock. There we go. So, King of Nowhere #4. This is a mini-series out of Boom Studios by, like I said, W. Maxwell Prince and Tyler Jenkins. It is, it's very weird, but in a good way. So it starts 3 issues ago. It actually started with a man wakes up from a bender in a town where people are half animals and everything is weird, and we don't know this whole time if he's dreaming in some sort of state or if he's actually just made best friends with a half man, half bass, and they just go drinking all the time. So in the last 3 issues, you just kind of are learning little pieces of the inner workings of this town, where everyone is kind of a mutant, and his place in it, this character Dennis. And the plot just oddly thickens in a very, I'm getting really positive associations with some Jeff Lemire work, kind of like Sweet Tooth, where it's a world outside of the world but exists within. Stop it. I can't get it to stop. But yeah, this really drew me in. I sampled the first issue and then just kind of kept going, and now that it's almost, at least the first arc, I believe it's just a mini-series, is more than halfway done, I'm very interested, and it's a really, really good read. I think this might be really good in trade if you're unavailable to get issues 1 through 3. But yeah, I would recommend this. This is really fun. So for the next one, let's do the popular indie book, which is Undiscovered Country. So #7, this is the beginning of the second arc. So the first arc actually just ended with a lot of shakeups of our characters. We got a bit of a death, and the introduction of a new villain, and then it just kind of moved on. And now we are with our main characters barreling down a railroad into the middle of a mountain. This is a very weird book. This is a very, very weird book. But you could tell that they are, if you can't even tell by the cover, this has to do with, or at least this next arc of the book, it will have to do with kind of our relationship with technology, and how over the course of many science fiction eons in a bubble where America is, how that has kind of evolved into a grotesque way. This is a weird, fun book that I was not on board with around issue 3. I started getting some really I started getting some really like not good Lost vibes where, hey, this is a lot of really great ideas that are just thrown out there. And the ideas just keep getting thrown out with no actual indication that there's an end to the story. So I started to get a weird kind of like aversion to it where, are they just being, provocative and weird to be provocative and weird, or are they actually trying to tell a story? I stuck with it for a few more issues, and I gotta tell you, issue 5 and 6 were fantastic, and now I'm back in, and I hope that it was really just kind of growing pains of those first couple issues to lay the groundwork and tell a story. I am a very big fan of stories with endings. I know that with comics it's sequential and it's perpetual second act and we're always moving forward, but when it comes to creator owned and limited series, the tighter and more focused the better for me, because I really do like stories with beginning, middles, and ends, or cutoff points. So I was really hoping that this was going to be more in line with like a Paper Girls, or maybe not so much Y, but somewhere in there where it's 30 to 50 issues. Here is the whole shebang, and not a Walking Dead where we're gonna go for 150 more than maybe we thought we were, and just keep drilling it down. But anyway, and then the last one I wanted to talk about was Empyre, Empyre: X-Men. This is the parallel series, the mini series for Empyre, not the legit X-Men series that has Empyre crossovers. Yeah, if that's not confusing at all. But either way, let's do it. So this book is dope. This is so good. In the last issue, spoilers for Empyre X-Men #1, because it started with a very big deal having to do with Wanda Maximoff, the Scarlet Witch, which wasn't in any other books, and it was like a really big deal, but no one was talking about it because no one's reading this, I guess. But that happened, and this is the ramifications of that. And many issues ago in X-Men proper, Jonathan Hickman introduced these new villains called the Horticulture, which is for seemingly elderly women who have plant-based weapons and want the plants to inherit the earth, and they're think of environmental extremist mad scientists. And because the Kotati are a plant-based alien race that are invading and Genosha and the world, these 4 women are introduced. And the X-Men have to stop her. This is a very funny book. It's it's very witty. It's very fast-paced and focused, and it's just really fun. I was truly not expecting to have such a good time with a event miniseries that just kind of seemed ancillary as opposed to integral. It's very difficult when it comes to these large crossovers, where to sample books and where to just kind of like, it's fine. Maybe in the collection I'll read it, but not interested. I usually will go by writer, and because of that, I tried this and it was great. So yeah, I would totally recommend this. So those are some of the books that came out this week. A quick reminder again, tomorrow morning we are going to be streaming and podcasting live at 10:30 a.m. Eastern Standard Time to talk about this week's comics. Probably not those 3, but a bunch of others, because it was actually a pretty heavy week in comics. Heavy as in a lot of stuff to read. But I still managed to finish a collection that I was reading, which was this one, Annihilation, the first one. So yes, I owned it, but I had not had a chance to read it yet. My relationship with Marvel Cosmic started with the Nova series, the Dan Abnett and Andy Lanning Nova series that happened during Civil War. That started during Civil War, and I jumped just in on that, and then that led into Annihilation, Conquest, and Guardians of the Galaxy, and like the new age of Marvel Cosmic, which everyone in our age range refers to. But I had never read this, the one that came before it, the event that superseded that, which was Annihilation, collected in this omnibus, which includes. So this was like an old school miniseries, or an old school event, in so much as that it wasn't Nowadays they will have like a spine book, like let's compare it to Empyre. So Empyre has those 6 main issues of the event book, but then a bunch of concurrent miniseries that are the stories in between the cracks of what's happening in the main book, but it's all kind of happening at once. This is a bit of an old school one, and the only one that comes to mind that also functioned in this way was Infinite Crisis, where it was 6 miniseries of 6 issues each, all leading to Infinite Crisis, like it was a countdown to Infinite Crisis, which I think that was the banner on it. But either way, this event, this omnibus at least, comprises of 5 different miniseries of each of a character involved in the main event. So it's Drax the Destroyer 1 through 4, Nova 1 through 4, Silver Surfer 1 through 4, Super Skrull 1 through 4, Ronin 1 through 4, and then finally you get Annihilation 1 through 6. And it's all laid out in chronological order. So you're 4 issues in on Drax, 4 issues in on Ronin, and it doesn't intersperse, and it's not in publication order. So that made this a difficult read. And I'll tell you why. Because some of the miniseries are not great, and some of them are fine. So by the time you finally do get to the event, it's good, but you just read 20 plus issues of just fine, and all that momentum or steam kind of rolls out. So let me give you some of the creative teams. So Drax the Destroyer that miniseries is written by Keith Giffen with art by Mitch Breitweiser. There's a prologue issue, kind of like a 0 issue for Annihilation, that's by Keith Giffen with art by Scott Collins and Ariel Olivetti. Annihilation Nova, which was the best miniseries in here, was written by Dan Abnett and Andy Lanning with art by Kev Walker. Annihilation Silver Surfer was Keith Giffen. You're going to hear his name a lot. Keith Giffen was like the mastermind or the architect of this entire event. With art by Ronaldo Arlem. Annihilation Super Skrull, written by Javier Grillo Marquardt, with art by Gregory Titus. Annihilation Ronin, written by Simon Furman, with art by Jorge Lucas. Annihilation itself, like the event, written by Keith Giffen, with art by Andrea DeVito. And then there were some afterwards stories about the Heralds of Galactus, because Galactus plays a big part in this. So it's Heralds of Galactus, Parasites, Afterburn, Death of Hope, Brothers Keeper, written by Christoph Gage, Keith Giffen, and Stuart Moore. So I read all of this, finished it last night, and it's fine. So like I said, I started with Annihilation Conquest, and that's where the bar was for me, because I do still consider Annihilation Conquest super, super good. And the only main differences between the two are not even the structure, really, because there were a bunch of lead-in miniseries for Annihilation Conquest, but it might just come down to the creative teams. Dan Abnett and Randy Lanning's storytelling for this era was, as blasphemous as it is to say, was better than Keith Giffen's. And reading the two in comparison is noticeable. It's definitely a preference. Like when I got through the Drax the Destroyer, I didn't care for the art too much, and it was just fine and a little weird, but fine. And then the book just peaked up because you got the Annihilation prologue, which kind of introduces the Annihilation itself, and then the Nova mini, which was 4 issues of just awesome. The origin of the modern Nova Corps, or lack of the modern Nova Corps, which was really cool. And then it starts to peter again, and you've got 12 to 16 issues of just a single Super Skrull story, which honestly I probably wouldn't have put on my pull list all the way to get to this event. So this, instead of this feeling like a larger meal, it felt like a bunch of appetizers that had middling success. When you finally got to the meal, which would be, in this very stretched out analogy, the main event, it was almost hindered by the fact that you had so many appetizers. Like this definitely could have in hindsight, this suffered from just a lack of focus, it seems. But I can't knock it, because this was the beginning of a very modern landscape for the cosmic Marvel Universe. Without this, you wouldn't have Guardians of the Galaxy or the popular movies. Without this, we wouldn't have the Nova series. Without this, it literally would not be what it is today, or has been for the last decade plus. So even though this gets all the credit in the world for being the predecessor of so many other amazing stories in and of itself, it was just fine. Like, it was a B-. Yeah, I don't know if I'd ever read it again, but I'm glad I did, but I don't know if I ever would again. So in reading order, I will likely move on to Annihilation Conquest next, and then I'll read the Guardians of the Galaxy omnibus by Abnett and Lanning, which both I do have. Both I had read before, but it was when they were coming out. So yeah, I was very excited to talk to somebody about this, so it ended up being you guys, very briefly. If you are... All of us read more than just the weekly comics. So if you're interested in us doing short videos like this about stuff that's currently on our reading list, or that we read that was really fun and we want to talk about it, that's a little bit longer or more than just a Thunder round, let us know in the comments. Because as you can see, this is only one of the shelves that I've got here that are just filled with things that I'm either currently reading, want to read, have read, and willing to go for it again. And just love talking about comics. So let us know. Like and subscribe. Links are down in the bottom below, where you can follow us on social media, as well as just follow us on social media, Patreon, the whole nine. Yeah, that's pretty much it, man. Comics are great. Read them. Join us tomorrow morning, and we'll talk to you later. Bye.